Welcome students. This program is for Bachelor of Arts, TYBA, subject Political Science, Semester 6, course code POD 106, course title Comparative Politics. Title of the unit, that is Unit 5, is Political Economy, and the name of the module is the European Union Debate. The outline of this module is the European Union debate. At the end of this module, students will be able to explain the European Union debate. Introduction. On June 23rd, 2016, the United Kingdom voted to move out of the European Union. The UK's decision to leave the European Union triggered the worst political and economic crisis in the history of the European Union. This marks the departure from an era of regional integration in Europe, witnessed after the World War II. Now let us have a look at the debates on European Union. The idea of European Union took off in 1960s. With the prime focus on cooperation as a means for collective prosperity, overcoming the lessons of Second World War. It adopted a gradual phase-wise approach towards cooperation rather than integration till a consensus was reached on a European common market and a common currency. Post-1990s, integration efforts gained deeper momentum with signing of Maastricht, creating the European Union, and further move towards European Monetary Union and Euro as the common currency. However, the transition from cooperation to integration was not smooth, as there were differences within original EC members, particularly UK, which had reservations on the pace of integration efforts, preferring dual approach. Besides, entry of new states after disintegration of Soviet Union put further burden. 2008 financial crisis and its subsequent global and regional impact further intensified the debate as to whether European Union was limiting the capacity of countries to take independent economic decisions as they were bound by regional obligations on government spending and taxation. Brexit in January 2020 marked a decisive turnaround in EU as UK became the first country to leave European Union due to its strong reservations on the impact it was creating on its domestic economy. Therefore, the European Union debates do indicate that internal political economy of individual countries do matter in shaping their choices in regional, global political economy. The establishment of a single market in 1986 and a decade later, the introduction of euro as a single currency seemed to give birth to a new era of political integration and economic growth. However, in reality, they sowed the seeds of politico-economic crisis being faced by the Europe today. Structural flaws in the European Union were responsible for the Eurozone crisis as the European leaders failed to set up institutions to sustain operational conditions for single currency and market. Implementation of monetary union without financial and fiscal union left the countries like Italy and Greece vulnerable after the 2008 global financial crisis. Today, Greece's economy not only stands mired in debt but was 26% smaller than it was in 2007, with youth unemployment at about 50%. Similarly, youth unemployment in Spain and Italy is around 40%. It is argued by a great historian like Alan Milward that the real reason for establishing the European Economic Council in the 1950s was to rehabilitate the system of nation states in Europe after the destruction of World War II. They realized in order to achieve economic prosperity and political stability, it is necessary to aim for continental coordination. The EEC was established on the principles of embedded liberalism. The result of the UK referendum in favor of Brexit seems to confirm that the discontent among lower classes played a major role in the voter decision making. According to the statistics, 69% of the people who thought globalization and regionalism has made them economically worse off voted to belong to the working class. Thus, economic reason along with many others were responsible for Brexit. European Union and UK trade relations. The European Union gives access to other countries to a market of more than 500 million people and hence can easily influence trade deals in its favor. After the Brexit, the UK lost a considerable amount of influence, resulting in less favorable trade deals with countries outside the European Union. In terms of trade, the UK is more dependent upon the European Union than vice versa. In 2015, the European Union accounted for 44% of UK's exports and 53% of its imports. So total European Union UK trade is 3.2 times larger than the UK-US trade, making the European Union the largest trading partner of the UK. The UK's exports to the European Union account for about 12.6% of its GDP, whereas imports from the European Union only form 3% of European Union's GDP. Therefore, the UK-EU trade is more important to the UK than it is to the European Union. Following the Brexit referendum in June 2016, sterling depreciated sharply and by the end of June 2017, it was 12% lower against the US dollar than it was before the vote. As a result of the Brexit, the UK's inflation rate has increased from 0.5% in June 2016 to 2.6% in 2017. Its real wage growth has witnessed a decline from 1.5% to minus 0.5% over the same period. GDP growth rate has also slowed by 0.7%. Thus, it is seen that the Brexit decision has started to negatively impact British economy. After the Brexit, UK lost access to the customs union and single market, making it less attractive for firms and industries that assemble products in the UK to be exported to the other European Union members. The UK's economy would have to pay the cost of reductions in FDI and immigrations after leaving European Union. Its hospitality, construction, fruit and health sector heavily depended on the European Union workers. Thus, leaving the single market reduced FDI into the UK by around 22%, and it would have negative impact on domestic output, economic growth, and living standards. It is projected that in case the UK maintains a high level of access to the single market, it will lose about 2.2% of its GDP and a permanent decline of 1.3% in the UK consumption per capita. In case the UK opts for a single WTO managed relationship with the European Union, shows that the UK could lose between 3.5% and 9.5% of GDP. While in an optimistic scenario, it is predicted that the UK's GDP will increase by 1.6% in 2030 by leaving the European Union. Absent of a trade deal, Britain would have to trade with the European Union under the WTO rules. The UK has a comparative advantage in services which make up to 40% of its exports to the European Union. Financial management and consulting services form half the total. Despite the fact that the UK has a net trade deficit with the European Union, its financial services had a trade surplus of 10.3 billion in 2013. Thus, any deal that does not protect passporting rights of the UK-based finance companies and provide the UK's financial sector with favorable terms of trade with the European Union will leave the UK's economy worse off. The European Union membership does not bar any European Union member state from engaging in global trade. In fact, extra-European Union trade expanded more rapidly over the last decade than intra-European Union trade. The UK's failure in capturing key global markets like China has nothing to do with its European Union membership. Thus, it is argued that post-Brexit, the UK would be able to negotiate favorable trade deals on its own to fully compensate for lower UK-EU trade. Hence, it is believed that the UK will not only lose access to existing free trade agreements between the European Union and the rest of the world, but will also have to bear the consequences of having less bargaining power now than before it was a part of the European Union. The economic losses being incurred by Britain are expected to rise in the future due to Brexit. And this is sending a message to the other European Union members to think twice before campaigning for leaving the European Union. In order to avoid further exit of the members of the European Union, it needs to address the daunting challenge of economic and social exclusion existing in most of its member countries as it further increases support for the populist and the anti-European Union movements. It needs to introduce policies that broaden access to higher education and support economically disadvantaged regions. The European Union also needs to respond to Brexit by allowing governments to protect its citizens from economic shocks through the implementation of shock-absorbing policies. The European Union also needs to revise its policies regarding interference into the member states' laws and economic policies. This would help European Union countries to reap more economic benefits. Students, these are the references for further reading. Thank you.